People say that I always choose thumbnails that make Ben Shalom look dodgy or shifty. Well, it's not hard to find the thumbnails, people, because when you watch these Ben Shalom interviews, his eyes are always doing crazy stuff. Like, look at his eyes here. I didn't even stop the video at any special place. It was just random. And look at his eyes, bruv. It's not a thing that you really have to look for. It's something that he does all the time. So anyway, with that aside, he said something interesting in this interview. He said that the fight between Hughie Fury and Michael Hunter, assuming it goes ahead, the winner of that fight will go on to be, I guess, mandatory for Daniel Dubois, even though Dubois holds a regular WBA belt. That is a really, really intriguing scenario as far as I'm concerned. The winner of Hunter against Hughie Fury fighting Daniel Dubois. I would love to see either of those guys against Daniel Dubois, but particularly Michael Hunter. I think when you put Hunter in there against a big heavyweight who is somewhat slow and clunky, as we saw against Martin Bakole, not that Martin Bakole is particularly slow or clunky, right? He's relatively quick-handed for a big man. Slow feet, I would say, for sure, but hand speed is not too bad. And as we saw in the Tony Yoka fight, there is some ability and skill there. Michael Hunter dismantled him. And I know people are trying to make it, oh, Bakole was injured and this, that, and the other. He was throwing both hands for the majority of the fight. So I don't buy that whole idea that he had this injury and that's the only reason that he lost. I don't buy it. What I will say, though, is that Michael Hunter hasn't looked the same since he apparently broke up with Hasim Ratman, because Hasim Ratman was his manager, I believe, and also trainer. And they parted company at the time when Michael Hunter was supposed to fight Filip Hrgović. At that point, they parted company and Michael Hunter did this deal with Triller, and he's had a few fights on there, looked very bad against Jerry Forrest and so on. And I don't know whether the breakup with Ratman has anything to do with why he hasn't looked as good. Maybe it's got nothing to do with it. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But then again, maybe it does have. So I don't know. Maybe Ratman put him in the right frame of mind. Maybe he was a strict disciplinarian and he was able to get more work out of Michael Hunter in the gym. Who knows? But if we see Michael Hunter at his best, I think there's a very good chance he can beat Daniel Dubois. A very good chance. But if we see the Michael Hunter who fought Jerry Forrest, then you're obviously going to have to favor Daniel Dubois. But anyway, all of this is speculative and all of this is irrelevant unless Michael Hunter can actually beat Hughie Fury. That, it seems, is going to be the next fight. Obviously, Hughie Fury already pulled out because of, what was it, an illness or injury, and they rescheduled it, I think, for September. That's when the fight's supposed to be now. Hopefully, Hughie Fury doesn't pull out again. Hopefully, Michael Hunter doesn't pull out, of course, as well. And we get to see that one. And I think that's interesting because Hughie Fury is a mover. I don't recall seeing Michael Hunter against a mover before. And when I say Hughie Fury is a mover, he can move real well. Like, he's one of the best movers in the heavyweight division. So, two movers going up against each other, and one of them is significantly smaller. Do you know what I mean? I think that the Marius Wack fight aside, maybe even the Christian Hammer fight aside, Michael Hunter has proven to be the more tenacious fighter of the two. Yeah, Michael Hunter really gets stuck in and goes into the trenches, and he seems to have quite a strong will in the ring. Whereas Hughie Fury lacked that for a long time. But perhaps he turned the corner with that Marius Wack fight because he was very forceful and very willful in that fight. You know what I mean? Whereas prior to that, we hadn't seen that side of Hughie Fury before. He'd always been kind of a passive guy in the ring. When you look at the Povetkin fight, for example, he was like just so passive. He didn't take the bull by the horns, even though Povetkin really was there for the taking. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments below about Ben Shalom saying that the winner of Hughie Fury versus Michael Hunter will be mandatory for Daniel Dubois. And of course, another bit of intrigue there is having, if it's Hughie Fury, a boxer Ben Shalom fighter going up against the Frank Warren fighter, because of course Ben Shalom made this offer to Frank Warren, Queensbury Promotions, for Joseph Parker to fight Joe Joyce, and Frank Warren has just thrown the offer back in their face, which to me is unfortunate, because that seems like a perfectly good offer to me. You know what I mean? I mean, Frank Warren's saying that it's less money than Joseph Parker was going to get to fight on BT. I mean, okay, send a counter offer. Just do that. Send the counter offer back and say, okay, we're going to offer you this amount for Joseph Parker to come and fight on BT, right? Rather than sending Joe Joyce over to fight on Sky. So make a counter offer rather than throwing this hissy fit. Oh, it doesn't make sense. Like, why are you doing that? At least Ben Shalom is trying. Yeah, he's being respectful in interviews towards Frank Warren, saying he's got the greatest amount of respect for him and all this kind of stuff. He doesn't want to get caught up in all the tit for tat. He wants to work with rival promoters and stuff like that. At least he says he does. And he's put his best foot forward with making an offer. But with Frank Warren, it's all about ego a lot of the time. His ego gets in the way of good business to a large degree, because he's just so much of a control freak, and he gets so angry and he gets so offended by style. The guy's in his 70s and he's still getting offended by somebody making you an offer. A fighter who wasn't even signed with you, Joseph Parker. Okay, you can be annoyed at Parker, but don't be annoyed at the promoter that Parker signed with. They're just doing their job. And they're being perfectly reasonable as far as I'm concerned. It's Frank Warren who's just carrying on foolish at this stage. So it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think about all the points I've raised and the topics I've raised in this video.